Well, hello. I was not planning to do this stream at this time, but after watching an interesting live stream of the pastor of the River Church in Florida and some of the other interesting things that were going on, which is actually a lot of interesting stuff on tonight's stream. Basically, even though that most of you know that a lot of retail businesses, restaurants, non-essential stuff is closed, but you basically, I'd have to say probably the most important thing that never should have been made non essential was the church should have never been closed. Personally, because basically all those that gave up their rights to keeping the church open, more than likely we'll never see them opening again. You got to basically fight for what you have. And this whole thing about Facebook and Google cracking down on people that are telling the truth about COVID-19. The thing is, they're trying to make everybody sound like they're crazy. And if not crazy, any real information that's going on or whistleblower information or the actual truth, they'll actually sit and remove it and just label it as a conspiracy theory. How can it be a conspiracy theory when it's true? That's my $1 million question. It's just a lot of controversy. How can you just sit by and let your government? Besides, when stuff does reopen, you can't sit and thank your governors and government for opening it. You pay taxes to them. Why should you get on your hands and knees and pray to them? Well, thank you for allowing us to have our freedom back. Well, I never should have stepped down in the first place. Should have made a stance. All this is they want. Well, global government wants world domination and control. And basically, by Trump not signing the Paris, the act in Paris with the environment and not giving money to the World Health Organization. Now, if they could pull out the stunt of denying the money to the United Nations, they wouldn't have any power over. But if some of you don't know already, the reason that vaccines have not been mandated, or fake vaccines rather, haven't been forced upon us because of the grace of God, Trump did not pay any money to the World Health Organization. And this is a fact. If you want to know more about this topic, all you got to do is pop over to Dr. Ronald Howard Brown of the Tampa Bay, Florida Church. He's got a lot of interesting information, and so is his co-pastor John from Pennsylvania. They have a lot of interesting information. And basically, in the live stream tonight, there was a pastor that was like 2 hours from Tampa Bay Church. That he was a cop for 25 years, and now he's in the business of the ministry. And it was actually very interesting hearing his testimony. And I got to give those people that kept their churches open during this time, I got to give them a lot of credit. It's a crying shame that all of the rest of the churches throughout the country just basically got on their hand, or laid down on the ground, and it just threw in the towel and said, "Okay, that's okay. You want us to close our churches? We can do that. We don't care." That's it. It's like there's a guy in Florida that was in a grocery store, and that those man didn't, that he was told to put a mask on, and he refused to do so. It's it's a right not to have to do that. And basically, at least they didn't arrest him, and at least they didn't charge him with anything, even though they screamed and hollered at a cop. But all those people that are wearing masks out in public, if you're that scared and you're that horrified that you're going to catch something, the only time you need a mask is if you go to the doctor's office. That's understandable, but to wear a mask out in your garden, or wear a mask out in your garage, or wear a mask out in your yard, thinking that you're going to catch the corona from somebody, you're in so much fear. It's silly. And those that are, you run into the stores where they're all like, "Oh no, 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 don't get too close to me. I might get your corona," and I'm like, "I'm not even sick. I don't get sick." And they just look at you like you're completely crazy for not being all fearful. But how how can Americans just kind of think that way and play into this whole COVID business? Sure, there are people that are sick out there, but it was no worse than SARS or H1N1 or AIDS or influenza. It's how can you? The funny thing is the hospitals, they were doing they're doing a study on the hospitals, and a lot of the hospitals around this area, there's hardly anybody in there. There may be one or two people, but it's not even COVID-19 related. These people have overreacted. They're basically running around, flailing their arms in the air, screaming and crying that they have COVID-19, and all this state emergency crap. Just give it a rest. You're working yourself up so much to the point where you get so upset and you stress yourself out to the bare minimum, or maximum rather. You just kind of you get yourself sick because you run yourself down. And a lot of now that the trees are starting to bud out and the flowers are blooming, and there's people out there that have allergies, and the thing is, all those people that have allergies, they're going to assume that they have the corona, which is it's a slang term for COVID-19. It's called making sport of, calling it the corona is making sport of COVID-19, if you get my drift. But to sit there and get so bent out of shape over it's just no, don't even go there. It's just people that are in fear, and it's just you can't. It's like there's some lady from a different country that wrote a blog online that her friend basically, he knew what was going on, but she's so blind and in the dark to write a blog online to make her friend look like he's a delusional freak. There's so many people. A lot of people in America are starting to wake up, and I'm glad to see that people in America are waking up to what's going on. But then there's some ignorant people in America that still think this is all real, and then there's some people in America that are twisting things around, and it's basically it's like this with the CDC with their death rates and stuff. They talk about all these hundreds and millions of deaths, but you don't hear about the people. You don't hear the names and stuff like that. I just, you're not, they're not giving you the whole picture, and they never will. They're trying to concoct fear, and well, basically by not watching the news and listening to all their bogus stories. And basically, the media proclaims it all as real, and the government proclaims that the news is all real when not. But the only one that, or there's a few people in the government that know that it's fake, and they're very careful what they say on TV because they know that the media will twist it around so bad. It's like everything that Trump says. They just sit and twist. They edit bits and parts out of random newscasts that he does or conferences that he does, and it's just not only do they make him look stupid, but it's just they're trying to ruin him. And to have that much hatred for your president. Now, during the Obama administration, they never went to that extent to make him look like a moron. But for some reason, when you get a Republican in, everybody hates on him. And the thing is, even when Obama was in, American people never really got that disrespectful towards him. But for some apparent reason, when you get a Republican and you can do that, I don't get why you should. And then there's some Americans that don't think that you should have freedom of speech, but I figure those people that don't like what America stands for, they should just go to Canada then, or go to Cuba or China. But those that want to go by the Constitution should stay in America. But those that think that we should just give all our freedoms away, go live over in a communist country for a year and then come back, and then you might have a different view on. Because once you have socialistic ism in the government, you won't have any churches, you won't have any businesses or government. Well, you'll have government, but it'll just be it'll be a permanent, you won't have elections anymore. It'd be all police states and martial law, and you don't want any of that. It's all bogus to want something like that. Just because young people want free education and free money and handouts from the government, and that they want to thank the government for allowing them to have freedoms. And no, your tax dollars pay for the government. The government works for you. You don't work for the government. There's people out there that are so confused and so dumbfounded that they just don't. If they haven't figured it out by now, they are never going to figure it out. And I hate to say that, but there are people out there that will never get past this COVID thing. You try to sit and explain it to people, and then they're just like, "Oh no, this is real. You're crazy. You're delusional. You think that this is all planned and this is all real, and that you think that the world or such thing as world government exists, and you think that why would anybody want to do anything like that? They don't have any motive to do anything like that, and there's people out there that think like that are so brainwashed that you can't even tell them the truth because they don't want to. They want to believe everything that they hear on TV is real. But like the number of COVID cases and the number of deaths, there's two sets of numbers. One from the CDC, and then there's one that they have for the media and the news. And the one for the media and news is like 10 times higher than the deaths on the CDC website. And the cases on the CDC, and basically the cases, there's the higher set of numbers they present on TV because they want to put everybody in mass panic. But on the CDC website, that's a totally different story. So before you buy into this whole pandemic thing on TV, you should watch other sources and other people around the country, like the River Bay Tampa Church and Jonathan or Johnny Evangelist from Pennsylvania, and even Gabe the street preacher. I don't agree with every single word that he says, but he does have a valid point on what's going on around the country and that. So, well, on that note, we will end the stream here. This was not something I planned on doing, but you get so annoyed with people out on the internet and people running around flailing their arms up and just basically giving up, saying, well, I don't think that we can ever function normally as a society again. But the thing is, even once it's all under control, we can't ever forget that this never happened. Because in case they ever decide to try this again, but even at a more drastic rate than this, well, what the world government doesn't realize is that once the American people figure out what's going on, they aren't just going to be a bunch of pansies and flop around and bow down to the government. I refuse to do that. I refuse to bow down to the government and worship them. I'm not going to do that. And you shouldn't either. God bless, stay safe, and we'll catch you later.